Hello. Okay, let's make a watercolor painting, a landscape using only blue and yellow. That's our challenge in making a landscape. So, as we were discussing in class, we only need a blue and a yellow in watercolors to complete the whole landscape, and we can make it easily with only using these two colors. So first step, I wet my paper. I have already taped up the edges, and now I wet my paper so my paints can flow easily, because we're doing watercolors. So a wet background is very important. So we're doing wet into wet. Just gonna start with the top, because remember, if you have a tilted stand like I have, if you have your watercolor set up on an easel or something, make sure to start at the top and go down. So I'm just gonna start with the blue color. I'm not even mixing. I have a a Prussian blue and ultramarine blue, and I'm just mixing them into a water-like consistency. And then we just get going with our sky. So your watercolors will spread, will lighten up. I want to see some clouds in there, so I'm gonna leave some whites. And as we go, we're gonna see magic happening. So I have a white area which is showing through, and it'll keep getting smoother and smoother as the paint flows. Another way to make your clouds, take your tissue paper, just touch it where you want your clouds to be. As simple as that. When you take the water away from the paper, the paint will not flow over it. So just take a little bit of tissue paper and get your clouds. For the bottom part, I'm gonna mostly leave it as is, white for now. And in the middle range here, this is gonna be my distant foliage or distant plants, bushes. So now I am mixing a yellow and a blue to get my green. So add more yellow. More yellow is more green, more blue is cooler. So for your distant bushes or foliage, you want to keep it on a cooler side. So I'm just gonna keep it more blue, and I'm just gonna simply dab it randomly. Remember, there is no geometrical shape, there are no straight lines in nature. You always have it random. So randomly dab the first layer in, and I'm also gonna get a little bit of the ground here, just like that. Don't overwork it, don't do it too much. That's the beauty of watercolors, you want to work less. And again, I'm gonna clean up areas where I don't want water to flow. I'm gonna use my tissue paper. I can get my white areas back. And while this paper is still wet, I'm gonna add more yellow to my blue and get my foreground. So again, I'm just doing it on the white here. I'm just gonna leave some whites for the highlights. That makes it look much cooler, much more beautiful. and I'm gonna do some foreground with using more yellow. So because we are challenging ourselves with using only two colors, remember you're not allowed to use brown. We have to create everything with our colors, two colors, the blue and the yellow. So I am just gonna work my layers, my tones using these two colors only. So my first layer is done. I'm just gonna try and get some more details added with a darker, more blue green shade, and just a little touch here, a little touch there, which is gonna give me an impression of a ground where there's grass and there's mud and there's a lot happening. Remember, when you paint in layers. Layers means you do it from the far end to the front, or you do it from back to front. That will help you build up your scene. So I have my foreground and pretty much my midground setup. So we're gonna leave this to dry. Again, you can do a little bit of dabbing with your tissue paper if you think this is too flowy. Leave your whites. Your whites are your magic in watercolors. Always leave your whites. Since our first layer is kind of dry, we can start going on top with more colors, and we have to build up a 3D scene, 3D bushes. So remember, for 3D you have to have three shades or three colors, not three different colors, three shades of the same color: a light, a mid value, and a dark value. So I have a light value already. I'm just gonna start dabbing in. This is too warm. I'm just gonna add some blue here. Your distant values are more towards the cooler side, so remember to keep it more towards the blue side here. Just gonna dab dab dab, more at the bottom, less on the top, just like that. I'm just gonna dab dab dab. You can change your hands, try to direct it inwards. That helps a lot. So I'm actually really not worried about leaving any white here, because I'm gonna build up layers on top and we can always lift if we need white. So I'm just gonna do some smaller dab dab dab, and again some more depth in the front. So blue green is a cooler value, but if you keep adding more blue, it becomes a dark value, which is good for your foreground. So I pretty much made it all blue here. I have in my reference scene, I have some bushes in the front here, so I'm just gonna add that so I can get my scene going. Just a little bit of bushes in the front here, and a little bit of bushes here. So at the bottom of my distant bushes, there is no light hitting, and the way we can show it is by using darker blue. So the bottom only is going to be too dark. Again, our challenge is only using two colors, so we have to be very careful about it. I'm gonna let this dry for now, and then we will come back and do our next layers. Okay, so our first layer is all dried up. Now we're gonna get our protagonist or main character of the scene is a big tree in the foreground, so we're gonna get that. Now with a small round brush, clean small round wet brush, you can just lift your watercolors. Lifting is scratching it out softly to bring back your white paper, and this also gives you a nice edge which helps you get the definition of the tree. So for the trunk you can go a little rough, a little big here, clean the brush, go in again, lift up. You can start seeing the tree, so we can just get it as much as we can with this lifting, and then we will define it later. So wherever there's dark color, lifting is more defined. Just gonna get some branches and I'm gonna go over it again. So even in the lifting part, you can set where the light and the shadow is gonna be. Where you want it light, you lift it more. Where you want the shadow to be, you don't lift it as much. And we already start seeing a 3D shape. And then again with our dark color, we just go on one side of it, a little randomly, then we start seeing the trunk of our tree, and we also start seeing where the light is. And on the bottom of the tree there is dark grass under the shadow. So this gives you the base for your tree, and then we have to get our leaves, which is called foliage. So there's a lot of ways to make leaves, to paint leaves. You can do each one of them and spend days on your painting, or you can do bunches, simplified shapes, and get your painting done in minutes. It's all up to you. It's all about preferences. So I like to be fast, so I'm gonna make my faster choices. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of my tree going here. I'm not worried about the lighting anymore because these are small branches. These are just lines that are defining where my tree is. So I can make a chisel edge out of my small brush and just make my branches go in all the directions so that I know where my tree is going to sit. And with the same little brush and the darker, more Prussian blue, I am gonna again chisel edge and define some of the darkest bottoms of the grass, and randomly dabbing in shapes for the dark bottoms of my bushes in the front here. So I have bushes here, just the bottoms. So be careful with the dark, because in watercolors you cannot put light paint on top of dark paint. You have to be careful about that. And then I can get some of my shadows. Just add some water to your paint to thin it down a little bit, and you can also add some shadows down this way, some here, just randomly adding shadows to more define our ground. Then I'm going into the darker Prussian blue again, and I'm gonna define a smaller tree in the background here. So just notice that I'm using less water now, and my first layer, my surface, is all dried out. So this is not wet into wet, this is wet on dry now. So I'm just gonna define a little bit here, and again bottom is dark, so the dark bottom for the whole range of bushes, just going like that. Make sure you're not leaving lines, the shapes are supposed to be random. Then I'm only working where I think it's gonna be behind the tree. I'm just gonna give it some darks, and now I'm gonna leave the dark. We're gonna go into our yellow again, mix up the yellow and blue and get our light green. This time add some water, make it thin, and I'm gonna start dabbing some shapes for my leaves. Remember, your watercolors dry lighter than they are, so make sure you're getting the right color. This is your lightest green for the leaves. We're only gonna get dark after this, so you can use a little bit more water. See how I'm leaving some white spaces in between, or letting the sky show through. This is called negative space, and this has a very important role in your painting because this establishes your whole form, your whole shape. So most of the top is gonna be light, so I'm just using the light watered down green color. So I'm just gonna dab, leave some spaces, dab, leave some spaces here. Keep it random, don't make shapes, don't make squares or circles, keep it random. Dab, let it go over your branches, it is nice. Let it go over your bushes in the background, this will help us create depth. So I'm just gonna dab, and this is only the first layer of my tree, so I'm gonna do more layers to get the dimensionality, to get my likeness of realism in the landscape. So I'm just gonna add some more color, more paint. Again, if you want to keep it light, use more water. Dab. Around the branches, make some bunches of leaves. Let it go on top of your bushes. Let it go darker. And then I will go in the middle. Dab. Let it go a little darker in the middle because this is more towards us. Let your leaves be random, don't make lines, don't drag your brush, just dab it. Let it make the shape it wants to make. So this way we can already see the tree, but we will work more on it. And using the same lighter color, I want to go on top of my bushes here too, because I only had the shadow down. So just dabbing randomly, you can go over the dark color. Once the wet water touches, it reactivates the paint, so it can mix in and makes it look like one single entity. So again, I can go over the grass here and a little bit of bushes here. More yellow, less blue is warmer green. Less yellow, more blue is cooler green. So we want to work with both because we are only working with the blue and yellow. So we want to establish our values and our colors from these two colors only. Okay, so we can also get another layer of bushes in the background, just a few dabs here, a few dabs there. That gives us separation, that gives us more definition of the bushes in the background. We don't want it very accurate because it's the background, so just some random dabs and that's it. That will give us enough definition of the background that we can separate it from the foreground. So now we are gonna get into the darker shades for the leaf, for the tree. So since we had our shadow on the left side, more of the shadows for the leaves are also going to be on the left side. So I'm just gonna get some bunches underneath the leaves that I have. That also gives me a sense of shape, a sense of existence, that here are the leaves, here are the shadows of that. So just underneath, a little bit here, a little bit here, more on the left side because our light is on the right side. So not gonna cover everything, but I'm gonna make my leaves on this side a little darker. And as we go towards the top, we add more yellow because the top leaves are always lighter. And then I'm also gonna get some darks to go on this side that will help me establish the shape of my tree even better. So again, for the darker color, more defined color, use less water. For more randomness or loose color, use more water. So now I'm just getting into even darker, literally the blue only, and getting deep shadows inside the tree. This will dry a little bit lighter, so I'm not worried about it getting too dark here. But I just want to be sure that these darks are only towards the left side and not everywhere randomly. So this, as we can see, is making my tree look more 3D just by doing a little bit of colors. And as I was mentioning, you need 3 shades, 3 colors to make your subject or object look 3D on a paper. You always need at least 3 shades. So we did a light green, we did a dark green, and then we did a blue for the shadow. And I'm also gonna take the dark blue again and define the tree trunk a little bit more. So on the shadow side and a little bit of more random bark details and a very teeny tiny bit line on the light side just to define this is where my tree is sitting. Just gonna add a little bit more of the branch here. So wherever there is white showing, you can add branches, or you can always go back and add leaves. So I'm just gonna use a little bit more yellow here, make it green into the blue, and then I can just go and do some more leaves to cover up the foliage. So again, you can keep working on it as much as you want, and you can make it look like the way you want, whatever you want with it. This is your painting, your world. This is the way you want it to be. So now I am gonna get a little bit of more highlighting on my bushes in the front. So same thing we did with the tree. We're gonna do some lifting on the top. Lifting on the top. First we do some lifting, then we will see if we need to add colors or not. So just go randomly, make it look lighter than their next counterpart. Light is on the right side, so only the top rights are gonna get lifted. Then you can make it random to make it look like a bush. So I think I'm not gonna add any more colors. This is already making my bushes look the way I want them to. You can go on, keep doing the lifting as much as you want. This is your world, your painting, so you do what you want with it. I'm gonna clean up a little bit. Just gonna use my tissue to get the white out, and you can also soften the edges around this white in the ground just to make it more realistic. So this brings us to the end of this little lesson in landscape in watercolor by just using two colors. You can obviously use more colors, add colors to it, do whatever you want, but it is a nice way to start. It is a good way to start off your painting when you want to understand how your watercolors are working, how your watercolors are behaving. And when you limit yourself with only two colors, you have a lot to experiment with your brush work and using the colors properly. So this helps you a lot in developing the habits where you can understand how to control your watercolors. So I hope you are learning, you are following the tutorial, and I would love to see your works when we meet. Thank you so much.